They have been called human hood ornaments and sirens of chrome. We're talking about the auto show model. While our next guest has trained and selected some of the best throughout the years. She tells all in her new book, Sirens of Chrome. Joining us is Marjorie Krevsky. Marjorie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
This is such an interesting topic because there actually is a history to the auto show model.
It's part of our American culture. Going to the auto show is embedded in so many memories of people. The auto show is going on right now in Cleveland, but did you know there are over 93 auto shows across the country? Every major city has one in a lot of the smaller cities.
Now, Marjorie, when did the first auto show with models come about?
Actually, 1905, but the model was not the model as we know it right now. The first documented model was really a model family, because if you look back in automotive history, in 1905 the industry was just starting, so people wanted to know that these cars really worked. The horse and buggy was still the main mode of transportation, so they would choose families who represented a need for the cars. So actually doctors and their wives and children, those families became the first Sirens of Chrome because they needed reliable transportation for house calls.
When did it transform into having the beautiful, lovely ladies that we see now? And when it did, what was the criteria when it was just the individual model?
Well, it's a real history. About 1920, the beginning of the flapper age, when fashion changed from constricted fashion and garments to the flappers and short hair, and cars changed too. They started to change from the boxy looking vehicles to vehicles with more chrome and design. So they needed something a little special. So that's when women began to open doors, open hoods, and men were really the first narrators. It wasn't women. Men were the first narrators. And then that changed during the 30s and 40s during the Hollywood glamour age.
And you helped, as I mentioned, select and train a lot of these models.
I have for about 28 years.
You felt that it was very important that you just didn't want these models just to be a pretty face. Why was that so important to you?
Well, it really has to do with the cultural revolution of Ms. Magazine coming out, women coming into the working marketplace. So I would say about the late 70s, beginning 80s, it changed from the Vanna Whites who would open the doors or whatever to people who could really talk cars, and we call them product specialists, and they became trained by the automotive companies to really talk torque, technology, design, and really know the brand of the car they represented.
Okay, now obviously we're looking at different pictures now. Well, is that?
That is Cary Grant in a BMW Isetta, and Cary Grant was one of the sirens. In fact, there are a lot of movie stars who helped market and promote cars, and he's certainly one of them. And this is from Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. And Detroit, Michigan has Woodward Avenue as the main thoroughfare, and every year there's a great parade of automotive, or was historically. And that's one of the floats. And this is from the New York Auto Show approximately 10 years ago. This is called an I unit, which is another concept for not a car that would go on the road, but in parks and thoroughfares. And this is from the 1950s. It's Risky Business, and that's a red skeleton-like performer, meaning comedy at the auto shows. And this is a 1939 Graham, a car that is no longer made, and when you reference the human hood ornament, that's a visual that has just stayed historically there.
And I'm glad you referenced that because I wanted to make sure people...
It's part of the culture. It's part of the culture.
And we have about 30 seconds, but I just want to mention, like, the different styles and the different eras, obviously, means different fashions. So we have these dresses behind us.
We do. We have vintage fashions from the 1950s all the way through the 1980s. And we start with a black lace dress that stood beside a 1950 Buick car all the way to a Bob Mackie dress from the 80s. In fact, designers, fashion designers, American fashion designers, helped design fashions to stand beside the pieces of art that are the cars.
Well, Marjorie, I'm so glad that you're here because a lot of people might just think of auto show models as just a pretty face, but you obviously
They're
enlightened
smart.
us. They're a very smart choice. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you,
on the
Michael.
show. Get her book, please. It's a great history book. Just Sirens of Chrome. There you go. And you can get it at anywhere?
Barnes & Noble. Tomorrow night I'll be there at Westlake, or tonight at 7 o'clock, and tomorrow at Woodmere at 2 o'clock.
Okay, Cleveland Auto Show. We are coming back actually with more on the Cleveland Auto Show, so we'll be right back with more Good Company today.